Hello, hello, hello. Why? Why must it be so dark? All right, I think that I'm going to need to start shooting only in the daytime. It's like any apartment that I move to, without fail, I always end up in a really dark bedroom. I love natural light. Natural light does not feel the same towards me, clearly. Let me start off by saying that the tip I'm referring to in this video, the one that nobody wants to hear, including me, it's not that you have to stop doing drugs and alcohol. Although I wouldn't be surprised if that was also a tip for sobriety that a lot of people did not want to hear. I definitely didn't want to hear it. Like, wait a minute, you guys want me to stop doing drugs and alcohol? This is not what I signed up for. The sobriety tip that I'm referring to this week, that in my experience, a lot of people just kind of want to like put their hands over their ears and la 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 la, is to take some time off of dating. AKA be single, AKA not in a romantic relationship, AKA not having sex with someone regularly, AKA spending time with yourself, AKA scary. This is perfect for a creepy Halloween video. It's terrifying. Whether you're in long-term sobriety or you're sober curious, coming off a relapse, welcome back, or ended up on this channel for some other weird reason that the universe has not yet told you, this video is for you, because otherwise why else would you be watching it, right? I'm going to tell you in this video why it might be a good idea to take some time off dating when you are either getting sober or wanting to maintain your sobriety. First, I'm going to go into my own really quite dismal relationship history in terms of sobriety. Next, I'm going to look at the science, as I always do. I always like to look at the research we have available to us, the empirical evidence, if there is any supporting my hypothesis that it is good to be single, at least temporarily, while you are trying to prioritize not drinking and using drugs anymore. Finally, I'm going to leave you guys off with some tips, or a tip that helped me when I was struggling to stay single throughout my own recovery. Hello everyone, my name is Allie K. Campbell. This is my YouTube channel. It's dedicated to getting real, having fun, and living sober. Every week I upload a new tip for sobriety as a part of my Sobriety Toolbox series. If you would like a new tip every week, you can go ahead and subscribe to this channel. I want to thank all of my patrons who help make all of my content possible. They help financially support me, which is huge for a content creator who is attempting to do this full time. So thank you so much. Anna, Kristen, Naomi, Beth, Chris, Lauren, Pam, Rachel, Samantha, Tess, and Tom. I owe you guys my life. Okay, let's talk about my dating history in sobriety. First, I want to say that I very much dislike the black and white type of thinking that you get in a lot of traditional recovery and sobriety programs about dating that state very strictly that you should not be in a relationship, should not be romantically involved with anyone during your first year of sobriety. I don't dislike this because I think it's untrue. I don't think it's true either. It's just very either or. I think it's a little bit more nuanced than that. Life is situational by nature. I say this all the time on this channel, like there are no hard and fast rules. That is the case with this as well. I just felt like I needed to get that out. And when people were suggesting this to me in the beginning of my recovery, because I did start off in a 12-step program, I did not listen to it. Now, that is not to say that I shouldn't have. Situationally, the suggestion to stay single for the first year of your recovery might be a really great idea, depending on the person, depending on their history, depending on whether or not they have any kind of like codependent behaviors, anything like that. It was a suggestion that somebody like me absolutely should have taken. The fact that I didn't take it, the fact that I was so resistant towards taking a suggestion of being single for a little while I got my stuff straight with drugs and alcohol, it was an indicator, right? It was a red flag that it was definitely something I needed to do. Kind of how I'm going to ask you to figure out like how you identify yourself in whether or not this is a tip that you should add to your toolbox, whether or not this is something that you should experiment with, be based on like your experience and how you perceive your own response to that, I guess you could say, your own history too. I was so against it. I was so against it. Like, God forbid I had to be alone for a little while. I mean, like, I don't have any regrets, no regrets. A little time alone could have probably done me some good. It probably would have spared me a lot of pain. It probably would have spared other people a lot of pain. That's not the way it happened, so like whatever, but relationships were a major trigger for me. For somebody who relationships are a major trigger, it would make sense to not put yourself in a situation that you know is triggering for you to drink or use when you're trying to maintain sobriety, especially for the first time. You're just setting yourself up for failure. And I did set myself up for failure. I'm not gonna go ahead and say like being in a relationship or being romantically involved with somebody is what led me to a relapse, but being in a relationship and being romantically involved with someone is what led me to a relapse. I was not not focused on my sobriety. I was not focused on healing. I wasn't even able to heal a lot of the stuff that too busy. It was a mess. So much of it was for either distraction, right? Because I didn't want to do the work, looking inward and all that stuff. I wasn't ready to do that. I wasn't ready to face loneliness. And two, I was being like manipulative and really I was like using these people to hurt other people. Hurt people. It was just toxic. It wasn't cool. It wasn't good. It wasn't good, guys. I did eventually relapse, and had I not spent so much time and energy and emotions and effort like worrying about like the different romantic relationships I was in, I probably would have stayed sober. It's a cautionary tale. See, I used people the same way that I used drugs and alcohol until there was nothing left. One time I said that at a meeting and I got whatever the equivalent is to a standing ovation at the meeting. Very proud of that moment. But it's true, and it's not cool at all. People, in a way, were kind of like an addiction for me. Romantic relationships that were based in chaos and highs and lows, like that was an addiction for me too. This kind of pattern like went on for probably up to like the middle half of my second year of sobriety. It's been like probably the last like 10 months to a year that I've actually been actively not doing those things. So I did finally stay single for a little while. Definitely was huge for my recovery because it allowed me to sit back and actually really define what I wanted my recovery to look like, execute the things that needed to be done to make it look like that, and understand what I wanted from a romantic relationship. When I eventually got back into one, I wasn't dating the same type of people and going into the same type of situation that were indicative of the relationship, that were so like messy and chaotic. Enough about me. Perhaps that is enough to convince you to consider taking some time off dating or being in a relationship or whatever you want to call it in order to focus on your sobriety. But perhaps you would like some more solid evidence. Maybe you need some science. Let's see what I found. First up, the evidence presented by Paul Dolan. He's a professor of behavioral sciences at the London School of Economics, and he found that unmarried and childless women are apparently the happiest subgroup in our population. Okay, so interesting. However, I'm unsure how Dolan is defining the word women. Doesn't really help us on a more universal scale. It's really only pertaining to like whatever one group of people he's referring to. I mean, I suppose it's worth noting, right? In the second study I found, published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships, this study turned out to be a little bit more helpful for our purposes. In it, they found out that people who are single reached out more to their social network. Their friends, their people, their squad, or whatever we call it now. How does this relate to sobriety? As Johann Hari put it, the opposite of addiction is not sobriety, it is connection. And there are tons of studies and just like everyday evidence that support the fact that having a strong network of people that you can rely on is absolutely essential to sustaining good sobriety, good recovery, staying alcohol free, whatever you want to call it. The second part of that finding strikes me as interesting as well. Not only do they reach out to their friends more, they also give and receive more to the people in their lives. For me, giving means service. Service is also a huge part of most recovery programs. Helping your fellow person who has the same value as you of finding and maintaining sobriety. We have more time and we're willing to put more energy and effort into our non-romantic relationships, like with our family and with our friends, when we're not coupled. More open to think about being of help to other people when we're not distracted by having a partner. And the next study that I found, although I gotta mention that this one also focuses on what I assume to be heterosexual, cisgender women, these people have lower risks of alcohol use and smoking compared to people who are in relationships. And these are single women, which is weird to me. I would assume it would be the other way around, like are partying more often, are smoking more, or doing all that stuff. But according to this particular research, that's not the case. You also have more time to focus on you and what matters to you and your values and core beliefs, which, not that you can't do those things when you're in a relationship, you have more of a chance of focusing on yourself when you are, consciously single. For me, like sobriety is about like self-development and getting to know ourselves. So a lot of anecdotal evidence backing this up, but as far as research goes, that's really all I could find. If you guys find anything else, by all means, like send it over to me and maybe I'll make a second video, who knows. And as far as tips for staying single go, I'm admittedly not the best person to ask. I'm a serial monogamous and a serial relationshipper. What is this that I'm doing? I was very resistant to staying single when I first got sober. Hindsight is 2020. We've all agreed to listen to me, right? Because I have decided to put my face on the internet, and that's really all you need in 2020. My sobriety tip for staying single, even though I know most of us don't want to when we're trying to get sober, is to date. Date, what do you mean? You just said be single. Yes, be single, but also date yourself. Yeah, it's kind of corny. It's really definitely like social media influencer energy. Date yourself, get to know yourself, do everything that you would do with another person, with a romantic partner, to yourself for at least a little while. And you can decide in advance about how long you want to do this for. What they tried with me, what my mentors and my sponsors in the beginning tried with me, they said, do it a year. And I was like, fucking-lutely not. How about 9 months? And I was like, and then they were like 6, and I was like, closer. Eventually I agreed to 3 months. I did not even do that until much later on. It was helpful in a way to like have this kind of like goal in mind. Some people are very driven by that. By the way, I'm not suggesting that if you're already coupled, like that you just leave your relationship so that you can focus on your sobriety, unless that feels the right choice for you. By all means, like do you. I'm not trying to be a homewrecker here. If you're currently single, you're currently not in a romantic relationship, you're not coupled, aren't quite sure that you've like made enough progress in terms of your sobriety, maybe consider just leaving that out of the picture for a little while and dating yourself. Because it can be really, really fun when you put all of that like loving energy, that amorous energy into you, because I mean like sobriety is an act of self-love. God, this is corny. Fawn over your new paramour. Bring yourself on dates, get yourself flowers, cook yourself dinner, do the X-rated stuff if you're into that. Be vulnerable with them, tell them how nice they look, think about them in a good way. There's so much you can do. Basically transfer all of the healthy things that you would do in a romantic relationship to another person to yourself. And right now I'm in a situation where I myself am kind of doing that. If you need any help, I might need some help. We can connect on several different platforms. Y'all know where to find me. And I want to hear what you guys think. So comment, let me know, does staying single help with sobriety? What has been your experience in dating and staying single in terms of going alcohol and drug free? If you're still here, you might as well subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much for watching. As always, it's been real, it's been fun, and it's been real fun. And I will see you guys next week. Okay.